Welcome to Living from the Inside Out with Holly Wade. Living from the Inside Out is about living fully, guided from your inside. Holly shares the wisdom of how your mind, body, and spirit are truly connected and that you deep down know your own answers. Holly and her guests will provide tips, practices, and inspirational stories to help you approach your life from your own heart. And here's Holly.
Hi, everyone. This is Holly with Holly Wade Wellness. Thanks for joining this week's episode of Living from the Inside Out. Hey, this week we are talking stress. It's the common topic that I hit on because my belief is that that is the root of many of our issues. And when you do research and look at the things that Americans, and really many of the Western world, or many people from the Western world, meaning Canada, Australia, England, those countries, there are commonalities in what stresses us out. And depending on the poll or the research that's done, the order may change, but the top four remain consistent. And those things are: 1, our health; 2, our finances or wealth; 3, our relationships; and 4, careers. And I usually talk about the body and how stress impacts our health. But if you think about it, those 4 things really are all intertwined. And often if you're stressed out in one of those areas, you're probably stressed out in another area as well, or in all of those, which is why I think the holiday season is in particular high stress, because you're dealing with high sugar, lots of alcohol floating around. We're eating on the go. We're eating more rich food, so that's impacting our health. We're staying up late, burning the candle at both ends for lots of reasons, to get all the Christmas stuff done, the holiday stuff done, the baking, the presents, the all that stuff. And also we've got more responsibilities at work to wrap up the year, right? So that takes a toll. That takes a toll on our health. Overspending for the holidays takes a toll on our wealth. So we're stressed out because we don't want to not look like a schmuck and not give gifts. So we overstretch ourselves instead of planning what would be doable and realistic, and maybe even opting out of the consumerism that has become the theme of the holidays. Relationships, well, when we're stressed, of course that creates strain in our relationships, because we start snapping at people, we start getting short with people. Have you ever, like, when you go shopping for the holidays, people are in a mood. And if you're a Black Friday shopper, craziness ensues, right? And so all these things kind of ripple into one another. It doesn't matter what the starting point is. One thing will create stress in another, and another, and another, and another. So next week, I'm going to continue on this conversation and talk about healthy holidays. I want to start us thinking in those terms and start to be intentional and proactive about the holiday season, because it's going to be here before we know it. But this week, I'd really like to dive into stress in relationships. And I'm not just talking about your significant other. Of course, that's your primary relationship, but it could also be stress with your parents or stress with your kids, between you and your kids. At the end of the day, what it boils down to is when we are healthy and happy as we are, when we learn how to do that and to be content as we are, and can bring that into a relationship, then the other person has permission to do that as well. And when you have 2 healthy individuals forming a relationship, whether that is a significant other, whether that's parents, whether that's whatever the case may be, but when you have 2 healthy people coming into that relationship with respect and compassion, then you have a successful relationship. But it all starts with you. So let me tell you, I was not always this confident human being who was emotionally intelligent and aware. As a matter of fact, I have done a lot of work on myself to get here. And once upon a time, I had the deadly concoction of perfectionism, people pleasing, and just thinking that I had to do everything just right. I had to be just right. And what that really meant was that I kept putting on this facade or this mask to, quote, be perfect, whatever that was supposed to mean. And if something wasn't perfect about me, then it raised these insecurities. So things like if someone would look at another woman or another, because I think college student, 20s, you know how it is. But if someone would make a comment like, man, she's hot, or she's got, nice this or nice that, I always took that to mean that I didn't have that. And so it would create this little wound or this little hit inside of me that kind of stung. And they didn't necessarily intend that. That's just how I took those types of comments. Or if I didn't perform to a T, which was always a performance. It was trying to guess what would make someone else happy or impress someone else rather than just being okay with what I had done. It was exhausting. And if I didn't make it, quote, perfect, I would beat myself up over what I didn't get right rather than the 50 million things that did go well. But that one thing that didn't, I would beat myself up. And what that did was it really just kind of kept me stuck and in anxiety. I was afraid to be in relationships because I didn't want to be found out. I didn't want someone to figure out that I wasn't perfect. In terms of my body, if I couldn't get a 6-pack, which I never was able to, to me, that was the perfect body when I could get a 6-pack, get those abs of steel. And I never could. I could get really strong legs, I could get defined arms, but I could not get the definition of my abs. And so that was the part of my body that I criticized. And really at its root, when you think about all of those things that I'm describing, because those may be things that you can relate to, at its root, I wasn't happy with me. I was never going to be enough. I was never going to be spiritual enough, religious enough, good enough, pretty enough, smart enough, because there was always going to be someone better. And it paralyzed me rather than driving me. Now, many of you may know that I live with Crohn's disease. So of course, think about, the emotional stuffing that I was doing, the attacking my not being able to have perfect abdominals, and a lot of things. But my gut was the part I didn't trust myself. And when you understand chakras, your third chakra or the belly is all about you. It's your powerhouse. It's your center. It is you. It is the youest of you. That gut instinct, I didn't trust it. I always questioned myself. And from a mind-body connection or metaphysics standpoint, of course, that would lead to dis-ease there. Because that's your body's way of trying to get your attention and say, hello. I'm trying to tell you stuff and you're not paying attention. So I'm going to talk a little louder. Now, there were all these other things going on. So there's actually quite a bit. It's always a perfect storm that creates a chronic disease from what I have studied and learned. But from a mind-body connection, that absolutely is spot on. And so I spent years working with someone to work through my anxiety and to unpack and to unstuff and to start to become emotionally intelligent rather than stuffing my emotions. And what that means is being able to feel and to identify what I was feeling and just feel it, let it go, and move on rather than hanging on to the despair and the weight that it caused in terms of shame and guilt and all these things for even feeling that way, which is very human and very natural and very normal. I do have a point to all of this, so hang on. Over time, I became a healthy humanoid. And one of those things that I will never regret is spending 4 months in the Eating Recovery Center. And that was in 2015, life-saving surgery, and 4 months time that I call my own personal eat, pray, love experience, where I didn't have to worry about anything but Holly, day to day. I just had to figure out how to regain my health with the help of my experts, of my team. And even though I had been working on me and on things up to this point, that was the part that really allowed me to break free. The irony in all of this is that I am in a relationship now. And, this thing, this chronic illness that I thought would be the thing that would be a turn off was actually one of the reasons that he was drawn to me. It wasn't the Crohn's, it was the fighter that showed up. His quote has been, I don't think you have quit in you. Straight up, that is right. As I got healthy, physically, mentally, mainly mentally and emotionally, as I became more open, and this is what I mean by healthy in this way, being more open and accepting of myself first. And that has allowed me to be more open and accepting of others and just seeing them for being the amazing and crazy and complex humans that they are. And it allowed me to begin to forgive myself. And because of that, it's easier to forgive other people. My parents, my coworkers, my people who negatively impacted me in the past. And working through my own stuff allowed me to set all of that free. And what all of that has given me is the ability to be a healthy person, to come into a loving, romantic type of relationship. And the funny thing is, it's the one that I always dreamed of. Or it's the person, like who he is what I always wanted and what I always knew I was supposed to have, if that makes sense. Why am I sharing all of this with you? Well, first of all, maybe you have a habit of finding the wrong relationships. And maybe it's because you're looking for someone else to make you happy or to fulfill something in you, some kind of need. And often those turn into codependent types of relationships. And that's something that you can work out and figure out for yourself so that you can break that pattern. What I do know is that when you have two healthy individuals, you get to have a healthy relationship, and it's a heck of a lot of fun. And if you go back a few episodes, a few podcasts ago, I had the pleasure of talking to Allison and Elvin Perez. And in our conversation, we spent about an hour after the podcast recording talking and engaging, because we're all on the same page in terms of how we approach our coaching. Mine is a holistic health approach, meaning that we work mind, body, soul, and we work to align those things so that you become fully healthy and vibrant regardless of your circumstances. I have Crohn's, but I'm healthy. You can be healthy too. It doesn't mean that you're disease free. It just means you can live vibrantly regardless of the circumstances that you have. And they work in that mind, body, soul connection in terms of relationships. And we thought, how amazing would it be to create a retreat experience, a couples retreat, where we're working on just this, connecting to yourself better and connecting to your partner in a better way, in a really healthy, loving, nurturing way. So we have set January 20th through 23rd, 2019 aside in beautiful New Orleans, right off of the French Quarter. We have a whole bed and breakfast to ourselves, to our whole group. And that it is open to 12 couples. And if you are in a relationship that has been going for a while, you don't have to be married at this point, but if you've been going for a while and you have a healthy relationship, you've been successful in your own right, and now it's time to turn your attention to your relationship and kind of rediscover why you came together in the first place. And to really focus on making your relationship even better. We're calling it Reawaken Your Relationship. And it's to kick off the year, kick off 2019 in a way that you have skills to support you so that you can do this dance of being two individuals and a couple, so that you can grow as yourself, as individuals, and support one another in making those dreams come true, because that's a part of you. And how do you bring your dreams together as a couple? What is it that you dream together? Do you want a new home? Do you want to take a trip somewhere together? Do you want day-to-day connection in a different, more meaningful way? If that is something intriguing to you, go to www.elvinandallison.com/retreat. And I will have that link in the show notes. But that's where you can find out more about this couples retreat so that you can reawaken your relationship with your partner. Because there's no reason for your relationship to be the cause of stress in your life. If you can eliminate that stressor, oh my heavens, maybe those other things, maybe your health, your wealth, and your career will also start to come into place. I hope to see you in January. If you have any questions, you can email me at holly@hollywadewellness.com. And again, I'll have the link for the retreat in the show notes so that you can find out more. So let's make 2019 healthy in terms of your relationship, letting go of the stress, becoming more healthy as an individual, and becoming more healthy as a couple. Have a great rest of your week. Next week, let's talk holiday season because it's just around the corner. Thanks for joining this week's episode of Living from the Inside Out.
Thank you for joining us at Living from the Inside Out. Listen every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. To connect with Holly, just go to www.globalvoiceradio.com. Global Voice Radio is where your voice and your message is heard.